Hello and welcome to tonight's reading of the novel A Tiger for Malgudi by R.K.Narayan. We stopped the last reading at the point where they had a discussion under the tree in the large ground where the captain and the master and all were talking. So the director who is to produce the movie was telling about how he had found the strong man Jago and booked him for 500 rupees a month plus food. And so that finished and we stopped, and now we continue at that very same spot. They were all seated on folding chairs in the shade of a large banyan tree. Captain looked very happy and relaxed, much to Madan's relief. Very different from what he seemed at the circus ground. Madan asked, "Would you like a cup of coffee, tea, or fruit juice?" "You have all that here too?" Captain exclaimed patronizingly. "First thing I arranged to have was the canteen over there, where you see the smoke. Otherwise, no work would go on here. They'll all be going to all the time for a refreshing drink. For stronger refreshments, too." Sorry for that. Sorry. For stronger refreshments, too, they have a tavern. Fortunately for us, a mile out of here, where I believe they gather at the end of the day. I don't let them leave this spot during their working hours. Though sometimes I notice some transaction going on across the barrier at the back of the lot. Don't notice too much. You must know when not to be too observant. I have a team of about 300 at work. I find all sorts of problems. I can't be too strict or rigid. As long as they do their work, I have to accept it, and I try not to look too closely. That's a very clever, a very balanced approach. Captain was relaxed. Madan felt expansive and said, "You'll be welcome to come and spend as much time as you like. You look more happy here." The makeup and costume section was in one of the huts, and it could hardly hold the makeup man and his assistant, as Jaggu stood in the center. He was fitted with a leopard skin covering, which was strapped across his shoulder. His hair was tousled so that it stood like an aura, and they had given him a mustache which curved up to his ears. There had been a controversy among the makeup men whether the ends of the mustache should curve upwards or downwards, up like a colonel's or downward like a pirate. They went on arguing about it so hotly that Madan heard their wrangling from under the shade of his banyan tree and came over to ask what the matter was. He stood at the entrance, impressed with the mighty figure, while the makeup men were going around him like pygmies. They went on touching him here, there, as if he were an inanimate, except for a little shifting of his legs and letting out a deep sigh. He gave no sign of being alive. Madan studied him and cried, "Here, pull off the mustache. He's all right, plain-faced. He's like Tarzan and not like the pirate or Bhima." "But sir, there must be some breakup or offset for his face. It is too plain for a large area." "It is sticky, sir, scratching, sir," mumbled Jaggu through the gum on his lips. "Where did you get the idea to give him whiskers? Take them off immediately," Madan ordered, while Jaggu looked on gratefully. "Also loosen his robe a bit. It should come down to his knees, even covering his knees. Otherwise it will look as if he wore a loincloth." and will cut a sorry figure on the screen. Enough material in that cloak loosened all the pleats. It took him over 2 hours before achieving the results visualized by Madan. Pulling out the moustache was ticklish, literally, and Jagu moaned and wriggled and was reprimanded by Madan's assistant supervising the operations. Finally, at about 9 o'clock, the hero was ready, properly painted and costumed, and his hair done up in proper style. Madan and his assistant stood around, gazing and commenting. Madan looked satisfied. An hour or more wasted because of the mustache. I don't know where they got the idea from. Our mythology, I suppose. Jagu is not a demon. We must establish him as a normal human being. Any character with whiskers repels, particularly women and children. Polanski has explained somewhere. Now, who is Polanski? The assistants were looking up and down. But then they have to go with the boss. So Polanski has said somewhere that the audience sympathy must be established first. And he has statistics to show that between a character with hair on his lip and a clean-shaven man, the latter gains more sympathy. His assistants nodded agreement at his knowledge of the Shastras. Madan looked with admiration while Jagu was brought out. He said, "Go up to the hut. Let us see how you do it. Walk naturally. Don't swing your arms. Be natural. Camera rehearsal." He shouted suddenly, and the cameraman suddenly sprang into action. "Okay, boss, a little more to the left. Please, more left." They made Jagu return to the starting point, marked it with white paint, and told him to walk up again to the steps of the first cottage. They measured the distance with a tape and marked a circle on the cottage step and directed him to stand in that circle with his back to the camera. The director ordered, "Don't turn until you hear a cry. Tiger, tiger," crying. "Till that cry is heard, don't move even an inch." He was made to walk back and forth repeatedly. He began to perspire and pant and tried to wipe his forehead, at which a great cry went up, "Oh, no, 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 don't wipe, and all the makeup will go away." Makeup man dashed up to him and dabbed his face with a towel and touched it up. Then he was made to stand within the circle with his back to the camera. "Don't turn. Stare ahead until you hear the shout, 'Tiger, tiger.' Do you follow me?" "Yes, sir," he said. So the director allowed a pause and suddenly screamed, "Tiger, tiger!" Where? Jagu asked involuntarily in a very stentorian voice. Looking around in panic, he made a move to spring forward. So the Jagu thought that there was a real tiger, whereas the director was just saying, "Tiger, tiger," as the instruction. The director cried, "Idiot! I told you not to move out of this mark. Get back and stay there." This slight exercise disrupted all the original arrangement. Once again, they brought the measuring tape and stretched it between the starting point and the circle. The cameraman kept saying, "More left, more left, more left. Your feet in the circle. Now come forward come forward 1 foot." Someone came up and held a meter close to his cheek and went back. And the makeup man was again patting his cheeks with a cotton swab. Jagu felt tired and confused. Madan said to his assistant, he must be told the sequence of the scene. He approached Jagu as he stood with his back to the camera and went around to face him. "Now don't move, only listen. They will now take a shot as you are standing. Following it, you will hear the cry, 'Tiger, tiger.' When that is heard, you will only say, ah, as loudly as you can. Spin around like this, raise your arm, and spring forward with a war cry and run up to that starting point over there, marked white. Demolish the tiger and walk back casually. So, this is the instruction to Jagu. Madan demonstrated every detail of his advice, spinning around and with upraised arm and falling forward. He showed the action repeatedly till Jagu could understand, and then withdrew to his chair marked director. Called for a glass of water, and sipping it said, handling this idiot is proving more difficult than I had expected. However, I am determined. Tell them to be ready to shoot in 5 minutes. Is the chap ready? Shot one, take one. That's the jargon of the film shooting industry. Shot one, take one, check it. Sound, camera, ready. Sequence number. While this was going on, a cry was heard from the other end of the field. Tiger has come. On hearing it, Jagu, without any warning, spun around with a great cry and sprang forward with his arms. Oh, I see. Okay. On hearing this, Jagu, the big man, actor, without any warning, spun around with a great cry and sprang forward with his arms upraised. A couple of members of the crew who were on duty jumped out of his way to avoid his stormy approach. Madan tore his hair in despair and demanded, "Who cried that?" "The tiger carriage has come, sir, and they are now bringing the carriage down the field, sir," explained one man. Madan looked at the cameraman and said, "Bloody mess, begin all over again." He said to the assistant, "Take that fool back to his position. Keep him within the circle. Let him not budge even a hair's breadth. Otherwise, tell him he'll be sacked. Touch him up all over again." At this moment, Captain arrived in his small car. Madan rose to receive him. From my cage, is the tiger, is telling this story. From my cage, I could watch this scene and also hear a great deal of their conversation after their mutual greetings. I felt happy to be able to stay in this wood. It reminded me of my jungle days and revived a craving for freedom. I couldn't complain of anything now. I was protected and fed and looked after by Captain. But that seemed hardly to suffice. I would enjoy being able to move about and exercise my limbs as I pleased. Though well kept, I was still a prisoner. If only they could trust me and open the door, I would go out, run, and return to my cage. But my species has an unfortunate reputation, and one's natural actions are misconstrued. People talk ill of us all the time. It's our misfortune that neither the denizens of the jungle nor those of the towns would trust us or behave boldly. The exception being Captain. But he had his own limitations of understanding. He had a wrong philosophy of depending upon the whip and his terrible voice, not realizing that I could be made to go through all those meaningless motions, even without all the violence and shouting, by just being told what to do. But how to make him or anyone understand that his style drives one onto a panic, and that left alone, a tiger could be as innocent and harmless as a cow or a chimp. I heard Madan say to the captain, "This is what I want. It is up to you to arrange it. Raja must make one spring at Jagu, and who will ward it off with a with the back of his hand. Raja is a tiger. Raja must make one spring at Jagu, who will ward off with the back of his hand and pound his face with such a cry, the Raja will turn back with his tail between his legs. Oh, tucking the tail between his legs should be more a dog's habit. I've never seen a tiger do that, says Captain. But I wanted to. It's in the script. Then change the script, said Captain, crisply. However, what is so important about that tail business? It enhances the prestige of the hero if he can make a tiger lower his tail in deference and crawl away. Who wrote the script? Well, I did. Who else could conceive of it? I never allow anyone else to handle my scripts. Then why don't you talk to the tiger about it? He's over there. Take your script and read it to him. And if he agrees, I'll have absolutely no objection. Madan looked desperate and upset. Captain, you are kidding. This is not how I expect you to cooperate. I didn't grudge the full cash payment in advance to you, which you wanted for 4 weeks of shooting. Don't talk like a moneylender. I have brought the tiger as agreed in our contract. I'll open the cage and bring him out to wrestle with your hero. I'll release him any moment you say you are ready. Their talk was interrupted by a plaintive appeal from the giant. I can't keep standing any longer. I want to rest. At least let me sit down on the floor. Now the giant is so heavy that he finds it difficult to stand. Hey, stop that. I won't have you moan like this every minute. You're not a baby, not by any means. Sir, I'll sack and sue you for damages if you do not cooperate. It is against the contract. I'm tired, wailed the giant. The cameraman came to his rescue. No harm, sir. If he sits down, we have marked the place. It will take only a few minutes to adjust a gun. Anyway, we have been behind the camera since the morning and not a single shot is taken. Light is changing and new measurements will be needed. One person from a high platform said, what are we all supposed to be doing here? Is this a protest meeting, revolt, rebellion, revolution, rioting or what? Asked Madan haughtily. If it is, tell me, and I know how to deal with mutineers. Don't you see we are in a discussion and I can't proceed without a proper discussion. I won't be coerced under any circumstance. Remember that discussion is the most important part of filmmaking. I don't have to explain that to you. It is not in the contract, so naturally you don't have to explain to us why our time is being wasted, remarked the cameraman cynically. Madan ignored him for a moment, but said as if on inspiration, I am buying your time. If there is talk of waste, it is only my money. Captain felt that it was time to end this squabble. He appealed to the cameraman. You are an experienced man and you know how difficult the film medium is. It's where art and commerce are combined. As our friend here always says, it suffers from the disadvantages of both. Once you are caught in it, you are finished. You can go neither back nor forward. This is the situation in which our friend finds himself now. So be patient. We'll decide very soon how best to proceed, having come thus far. But sir, we like to get on with the work. That's of course a good idea, but you know, as an ace cameraman, how difficult it is to get artists to do the right thing. Here we have no normal actors, but a tiger and one who understands less than a tiger. Difficult work, but Madan has invested money and time. You must do your best for him and leave it to him to work it out. But sir, we have been positioning and rehearsing again and again and again. Is there no limit? No wonder the artist is half dead. Actually, we started at a man from the top platform added before 7 and nothing done for 4 hours while I am perched here. What can I do? Some fool gave the tiger cue at a wrong moment. You had asked me to keep a lookout for the arrival of the animal, sir, and I did it, that's all. I don't like to be called a fool. Silence, no backtalk, ordered Madan. I don't appreciate it. Captain continued his good offices and announced, coffee break. Immediately the atmosphere cleared and relaxed. The crew left their posts happily and swarmed around the canteen. Jagu, foremost among them, Madan watched them all helplessly and protested, too early for a coffee break. But they have not done an iota of work. Not their fault really, but let us not go into all that now. One has to be flexible when dealing with workers. I know because I have to contend with 300 workers and animals of various sorts, said Captain. While the crew were away refreshing themselves, Madan and Captain engaged in a discussion. Madan, I wish to help you, understand that. Stop all that nonsense about Raja's tail. Raja's face should be more important. But at some point we must follow this. But Madan says at some point we must follow the script. You mention it as if it were your scripture rather than your script, says Captain. Scripture means religious document. And so Captain is telling Madan, you mention it as if it is your religious scripture rather than your script. We will come to it later. Be clear as to what you want Raja to do before he tucks his tail. He must stand up on his hind legs and place his forelegs on the giant's shoulder first. Then the giant will knock him off. Marvelous conception, said the captain. In all my years of association with wild creatures, he began his sentence and stopped short. Does it occur to you that even granting that it's possible, the flesh on that poor fellow's shoulders is likely to be torn out if nothing worse happens? I depend on you. Can't you pull out his nails? Asked Madan. Horrible idea, never. But they will grow again. That's what they do in Hollywood. Well, don't you go to Hollywood then? Why don't you go to Hollywood then? Asked Captain. I want to make 100% Indian film. I've taken it as a challenge, says Madan. Who is challenging you? Asked Captain. Leaving the nail pulling alone, that's not going to happen. Raja may decapitate your giant as he did that goat, an act which you so much admired. Madan was lost in thought. Captain continued, I'll tell you right now, I won't have his teeth pulled out either. I can't think of it. Let me tell you, even if everything is pulled out, Raja could still deliver a concussion with a pat. I want Raja to be restored to me in his original condition after the film shooting. If you look closely, you will find it in our contract. If there is a scar or mutilation on Raja, I'll sue for damages up to $10 million in your Hollywood terms, says Captain. Then in some jungle pictures, what they do is sew up the lips temporarily. These sutures are easily removed later. That's what they do in Hollywood, says Madan. To hell with your Hollywood and all the stitches and sutures. The tiger must be returned intact. By this time, the sun was going down, and the crew who had returned to their posts and were watching asked through their spokesman, Shall we pack up? Yes, yes, pack up, said Madan commandingly. He turned to Captain and said, You must cooperate with me, sir. Yes, of course. You have lost a full day and you will have one day less, and I want you to do something worthwhile which within the stipulated time. Won't you give a little extension? No, our circus is on the move. You know that. I have to send Raja off in advance. I'll tell you where we might do, what we might do. You must utilize the flexibility of the film medium. On my side, I'll make Raja stand on his hind legs and place his forepaws on a wrestler who is not there. And you will ask your giant to imagine himself to wrestle with a tiger which is not there. After all, he was a wrestler, and it must not be difficult for him to imagine an adversary and pound him. Shoot them separately and join them up through an optical printer. That way, it should be easy to show them hugging. Marvelous idea, said Madan. Next 4 days, we'll shoot the maximum footage. I'll get a second unit from Madras immediately. Better you give your hero a very close view of the tiger so that he may flail and hug and tackle realistically. Has he seen the tiger? Yes, from a distance, always from a distance. That's my problem. I notice that he shuts his eyes and trembles when he has to pass that cage. I was afraid how he would react to the tiger at close quarters. How soon will your second unit arrive? Asked Captain. Within 24 hours. No need to hurry, says Captain. They may take 3 days. Meanwhile, it's important that your giant and the tiger are introduced to each other, and your artist has to know what he is doing. As for Raja, as a general rule, it will be good to give him a glimpse of his adversary. Madan was too preoccupied to question the logic of it or the need. It was one of the many routine remarks and suggestions that floated in the air during a film shooting and vanished. Madan summoned his assistant and instructed, send a telegram to Excel at Madras to dispatch the second unit within 2 days. One cameraman and a second unit and a sound unit and a light unit. Where is the need, sir? Asked the cameraman, overhearing the instruction while packing up. While you are not utilizing the first unit, why do you want a second unit? What have we achieved today? Whole day. None of your business to question, says Madan. Be ready when you are asked. Captain said sternly. Captain felt it was time to support Madan and establish his authority and said, shut your ears to our talk. Understand, open only when you are being addressed. So these discussions were going on and the shooting is still stalled. We'll stop it here. I hope it is interesting for you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yes.